Your students were great. It was nice having you do it, and we really appreciate the opportunity to be here
Thank
and
you.
to share with you. So, and so we're going to open it up and let you begin.
Okay.
And so we're going to let you talk first about your assessment of your lesson and how you think it went. And you had raised a couple of issues at the beginning about several students, of which Deb wasn't able to hear that, but Kamal and I were. And so we would be willing to offer those pieces of information to you afterwards, but we're going to let you start and begin first.
Okay. Well, now that the lesson is over, and looking back upon the lesson, I definitely feel that there was a range of growth amongst the students and a range of debunking some misconceptions. Though I still feel that there are some misconceptions that we'll need to address, and that's one of the things that we'll be able to address as we look at student E's work and student J's work and continue on with tabular representation throughout the school year. But I feel like we had some good discussions amongst the individual shoulder partners, as well as a group regarding mathematical sense, and that things can make mathematical sense even though there is error in matching up with the DVD plans. So I was intrigued by that part of the conversation that we had in class. And I also found it to be useful that the students were able to record their findings in their little DVD packet plans.
Anything else within the lesson that struck you that you would like to add?
I think that one part of the lesson that I'm recalling right now regarding that would be that when we're looking at the different tables and asking the question, what is the mathematical purpose, that there isn't that instant connection to the prompt. And that's the guiding light, and that's the reason why we're working with these tables. And so I would like to go back and work on that connection some more. Again, having the kids realize that the whole reason why we're doing this is to answer the question of when will the 3 DVD plans match, and have that be the guiding light for our investigation.
So now I open it up to the observers then to share with you comments or things that may help clarify, flesh out some of the issues that you raised, some of the things that you brought up earlier, because we were able then to hear conversation among the pairs. So I open it up to the observers.
Well, I'll just start with, I think it was Amir who had said when he was talking with his partner, he said, I set up a T-chart with 3 tables. And that to me was fascinating, because he's seeing his T-chart. Is it a table within it? Are there 2 different things? Can T-chart be just like a table? So that I think we do need to, in the future, address it with the students. What is a T-chart? What is a table? Can the T-chart do the same thing as a table? Are they different or are they the same?
I also just thought about, I recalled the part about zero and the conversation around zero, and I feel that that's definitely something that I would like to explore further with the class in more depth and to a greater level of understanding about the role of zero, the value of zero, and what we can learn by including zero in our table, even if it is a little more challenging. I know that a student raised the idea of just scratching it out so that we don't have to worry about it.
And one did, yes.
And so I would like to continue that conversation as well.
Because I think, just piggybacking on that, one of the students had said 0 should be a 13. They think right away you're paying the 12 plus the 1.
Exactly.
And they're not making a connection between, you're not renting any videos, so you're just paying the fee just to be a member.
Yes.
And whether you rent it or anything, you still owe that $12. And that needs to be cleared up.
But one of the things that I saw was when the students were able to read the actual plans, which we had to have them revisit, then they got the 0. So the 2 groups I worked with, that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to move it to 13. And then I said, look around right there at the plan, and they went, oh, it's $12 just for the month. And that click happened several times. So you're right.
That's what I love about being reflective and looking at lessons and stuff, is that is a piece that kids didn't go back and refer to the charts that we had up there. So putting it on a piece of paper, everybody would have it. And it was loose in the sense that then you could use it for any plan, and you could have that information. I think it would be really good for the student work.
And
okay.
and not just to have the paper, And not just have the paper, but the teacher would have to, remind
Yes.
them. Now let's look at
Yes.
the
Yes.
plan
And the
and
prompt.
check the prompt and what's happening with the table.
Yeah.
So they go refer back to the board.
So it sounds like we're gonna, then to refine this, we're gonna put all the three different DVD plans on one handout and maybe even include the prompt.
Oh, we
there.
could do
Yeah,
that.
the prompt is good. I think the
Yes,
prompt
yes,
would be good.
yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we could,
And then the
absolutely.
teacher can verbally also remind. Let's
to
use
refer
it,
back to
look
the
at,
plan.
refer back to the plan and then
Right.
see, is this what's happening?
So I'd like to just go back to the zero for a moment. I thought it was really nice the way it came up in the conversation, and you had in the disequilibrium, because there were some who felt comfortable and it was important and they could make sense of it, and there were others that couldn't. And we knew that that was an issue, which is why we chose this as the second student work, because we know in the one you didn't get to, student E, zero is in there as well, and that one happens to be the correct table, but then we were going to pose the questions for the comparisons, similarities and differences between the three,
Absolutely.
and move not only to the prompt of when are they costing the same amount of money at how many rentals, but then moving to those prompts of, well, so when is move to best or a better deal? When is, online flicks a better deal? So where's that cutting or breaking point for each one of those, let alone just when they cost the same? So I thought it was very rich that way, that there was that students were as articulate as they were about that notion of zero. So to me it was like, okay, so this really leads into this potential of a really good mathematical understanding of what zero will tell us and not tell us.
And I'm excited that this conversation has started about zero for when we are working with graphing what's the data in our table, then we can continue that conversation
Yes.
in that representation and talk about the point of origin and talk about possibly crunching our number line and all of those other, our X and Y axis and all of those other elements of graphing. It's exciting that this is going to give us a talking point.
Absolutely.
With
And that was why we had designed, specifically designed it purposefully to do the verbal and then to do the table first. So, but it's interesting because they could answer that question without the
Yes.
zero.
Yes.
And the interesting thing with this class to see would be when we go on to J, and then
Yes,
we come
how-
back.
Yes.
Why was zero important? When is zero important?
Yes. And so we should probably explain a little bit about Jay. Jay is a student who didn't do things one by one as far as the number of movies. He did things in groups of three. I think he began with zero, then he did three, and he did 6 and 9. Don't quote me. But anyway, so he left out pieces, but it was a good conversation about. It would be a good conversation, which follows then.
And then also
Three.
for them to see E, is E the one that's correct?
Ease on.
E's the next.
So when they
Right.
see E,
Yes.
and then they see how the correct one was done, then they can go back, relate to the
Right.
mistakes again.
And then
see
you
what
come back with
happened.
J, which
Yes.
then is done differently. So
That's right.
then can we really make
Yeah.
those, and we may be able to determine when they cost the same, but are we going to be able to determine when one's a better buy or not? Because of, do we have enough information? I know that Cecilio had asked us to take some notes on Charles, as well as Melanie and Daniel. And so are there any other information from different pairs that you would like to share with Cecilio around either the issue of zero or the issue of understanding the table or forgetting the plans or...
The two I watched had a good understanding of the mathematical understanding, and I was pleased with that. When I moved over to the other two, there was the confusion about right and wrong versus mathematical understanding.
That's right.
So I was pleased at first watching their growth, and then realized that the group next to them were still struggling with that.
And then
The
that has-
correct answer is still kind of where they want to be sometimes.
Okay.
And that's still a trouble.
And now, realizing that mathematically it is correct, it's just somewhere it fell through.
But I did hear Jocelyn and Charles. Charles tended to dominate. Mainly it's because his colored card was the first one that he got to go first. But then Jocelyn,
Several times.
yeah, several times. And Jocelyn, but I was pleased that she didn't. She wasn't shut down. So even though Charles would say something, she would volunteer, and the clarity of her thought process wasn't nearly as clear as what Charles' thought process was, but she was able to articulate what she was thinking. So I think that it's a good pairing in that sense. I don't think she loses sight of herself and what she's trying to figure out, even though I don't think it's, she's a little bit shakier, obviously.
She was,
shakier,
but she had such confidence, even though she got lost in her
Yes.
trying to analyze what she was trying to say and trying to talk it out. I was actually pleased with how well she still continued, and she got off a little bit, but then
Mhm.
you do a
Well,
great job in pulling them back in, saying, do you need some help?